Afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's well. We're going to crack straight on today. So we're on flag number 3. So I have my flag, my template, and I've got my backing piece already cut. So what are you going to need today? So I've gone for a selection of blue fabrics. Now what we're going to do today, I've got a lot of fabric here. We're only going to use tiny bits, so little scrappy bits that you've got out of your basket. If you're anything like me, I have baskets of just fabric scraps. This is going to be ideal for those. So I've chosen mainly blues, and then I'm just going to pop in a little bit of a red just as a little contrast. And I also need, which I forgot to get together, where are they? Hold on, there we go. Right, some little buttons, little teeny tiny buttons, or little decorations. I'll explain why shortly. We're not going to need those straight away, so I'll just move those out of the way. Okay, so this one's called Fragments and Buttons. So what you're going to need is your template, a backing piece of fabric. I went with a bit of French, I don't know if we call it, I know ticking's the stripy stuff. This is really, it's quite firm. It's quite a firm fabric. But you want to make sure, one of the things that I have discovered with this type of fabric is before you start stitching, just get your needle and make sure it goes through, because sometimes they have like this has got like a little bit of a coating on it, I think, so it makes it a little bit firmer, but it's ideal for a backing piece. So what we're going to do with our fragments is we're going to cut little squares out of our little bits of fabric. So working on an ironing mat, I find this brilliant for doing stuff like this because you can stick pins in things. So what you want to work out, I'm going to work out my little squares roughly a third of the width. I'm not going to worry too much to start off with, so I'm just going to cut myself some little backing rectangles. Okay, so it's quite nice this, because if you've got tiny little bits of decoration on bits of fabric or pattern or anything like that, they can be put into the middle. So I'm going to keep all my backgrounds blue. The red I think I'll probably just bring in with a little bit of stitching in the middle. So I've got, this is round about right sort of size. There we go. So I've got 3 there. So I'm going to keep on cutting little bits of fabric. I know I've mentioned before about using all sorts of fabric. This is actually an old shirt. Went in our local charity shop, and if you go in the guys section, sometimes if you find the really big shirts, like extra larges and things like that, I've had this piece of fabric on the go for ages, because the back piece is usually really huge, and you can just get loads of fabric out, and it's not expensive. Okay. Oh, it's going to work out. That's really good guesstimating, Anne. Well done. So you can change your edges as well. So some of your edges could be frayed, some could be cut. They can go off the edge. It doesn't matter unless you are particularly bothered about it, if they're slightly different sizes. So we want it to have like this fragmented feel. So if they're just tiny little bits of fabric, this is a great one to do if you've got some little bits of fabric that you've got that you think, oh, I don't really want to cut it up or use it in a project, but I'd like it in something. You can just get little fragments. So if you've got a collection of fabrics that you absolutely love, your flag this week could be a little celebration of that. Oh, that's pretty. So I've stuck with blues. You don't have to, obviously you don't have to do blue, you could have a totally different colour, but you might want to do these all different. They might start really dark and get lighter as you're going along. You might want to keep it quite neutral. I was going to do this one totally neutral, but then when I was looking through my basket, I'd got all these bits of blue, and I just thought, oh, do you know what? That's kind of yummy. Go for another lighter one. So there could be a different bit of fabric on each one. You could decide to do all the backs exactly the same. Again, like I've said previously, this is all about you interpreting this however you want to. Okay, there we go. I think I need that one maybe just a little bit bigger. A bit bigger with that one. There we go. Yeah, that's better. That one be just a little bit smaller. So you can end up faffing a little bit with this one. So be aware of how long you are faffing for. Right, and then I need one at the bottom. Okay. I'm just going to do one there. I think that needs to be a little bit bigger. I see I'm faffing already. But even though you've cut those ones a little bit smaller, it's going to be perfectly fine, because what you're then going to do is some of these you're going to put an even smaller bit of fabric over. This is where the pins come in really, really handy. So I'm not going to double up on all of them, but I'm just going to double up on some. It's a bit annoying as well when you're doing this and you like get to a bit of fabric and think, oh, I want that little bit there out of the middle. And start using up all the fabrics that you've got. We keep all these fabrics for that special piece of work or special project. Well, any project's special. And ideally, with the project this year, the idea is not really to buy anything new. There might be odd little bits and pieces. I haven't decided what we're doing yet all year. So there might be bits and pieces that we might need to buy, but I wanted to try and make it as much as possible about using up what you'd already got. Okay, so keep on going. This bit of blue here is lovely. Run out of pins. Right, okay. Well, I hope everybody's got their oats. We had these last year with the tag projects. Basically, it's a jar that's just full of all the bits of thread. It was one of my favourite tags last year, so I have no doubt, even though I'm trying not to replicate any of the tags that we did, we'll definitely be doing an oat at some point. An oat tag. Can't not do. Oats are fantastic. Because it's one of these hobbies that's very difficult not to become slightly obsessed with. I suppose there's worse things in the world that you could be obsessed with. Right, move those out of the way. Oh, this blue thread, I love this blue thread, but I had it. I've just spent half an hour before I started recording this undoing it. It had got itself into a right tizzy-tiz of a knot. So I spent a good half an hour. Oh, that's nice. Unwrapping it all. It got to a bit as well where I thought, you know what, just leave it as it is. That's perfectly fine. But then the stitcher in me was sort of like, nope, sort it out. Oh, that's pretty. Look at that. It's got all tassely bits on it. Ooh. This was wrapped around a present that I got from somebody. Just want to put a little bit of red just maybe in the middle, just so that I've got that contrast of colour. Like little fringy bits, if that could go downwards. There we go. Pins. Oop. Oh, it's looking cute. Right, how many more? 1, 2, 3. So I want a little bit of the blue and white. So some of the fabrics that you've used for backings, make sure you pop a little snippet of that at the front as well, of one of the other squares. So we're doubling up all the squares. Go the other side. Oh no, a bit there. Doubling up all the squares, and then we're going to pop buttons on the top. So it's lots of little fragmented pieces. I was going to say I'll move that up. Let me move that down. There we go. So all these ones I've got a couple of little bits of fabric just over the top. They could be patterned, it could all be plain. Need a little bit of the wool. This is a bit of Yorkshire tweed, which is just very yummy. Ooh, a little bit of lace. Ooh, nice. It's just nice sometimes just to be using lots of little bits of fabric, especially if it's come out of your, oh no, can't have that there, it matches. Come out of your little fabric box with all your little snippets in. All those bits that you're keeping for a rainy day. Put a little bit of lace on there, maybe. Maybe not. I don't think I am actually. Ooh, that was decisive. I've got a little bit of that on the front. A bit there. It's got a tiny bit of red in it. Okay. There we go. Right, so that's all my little bits of fragments all together. So what I'm going to do to start off with to make my life a little bit easier, I'm just getting a blue thread, and what I'm going to do is just stitch each one down. There we go. So I'm just going to do a little stab stitch. So stab stitch is where you just go up and then down. Tiny little stab stitch in the middle of each one. You could always pin all these, probably make your life a bit easier than pinning it to your mat. It doesn't matter if they move slightly. Oh, that's a really tough piece of fabric. Come on. That's it. So it depends on how big you want to do your fragments. I've done them all as little squares. It depends obviously as well on the shape of your tag as to what shapes you want to do. So you could do little triangles. Could be anything really. The main thing is to get 2 layers of fabric. Oops. On each little square. A little bit fiddly, hope you can see what I'm doing. So basically it's just to get everything stitched down. Right, okay, move them ones off. They obviously don't want to be on there for now. There we go. Probably would have been easier if I'd have just pinned them all on first, but hey ho. No point making your life too easy, really. I mean, one of the things that you can do is, if you've done them all and got them all laid out, is take them off and just mirror the pattern, or take a photograph of what you've done. So that you sort of know where they're going. It wouldn't even matter if you took them all off and then put them all back on again and they were in a totally different order. We're not going to be that picky. So I hope everybody's well today and enjoying the flags. I can't wait to see everybody's pictures. So after you've watched the video, there'll be a post that I do on Facebook and Instagram, so that everybody can share what they've been doing. I'm not going to put any instructions on there as to what the tag was. If people that haven't joined it want to try and make up what they're doing, that's up to them, but I'm not going to be that specific online as to what we've been doing. So it'd be great to see, what everybody's done. And obviously we're continuing to build our community, so I don't always get time to go on and have a look at them all. Well, I try and have a look at all of them, but I don't have time to reply and things like that. So feel free to comment on each other's, obviously only nice things. I've no doubt there won't be anything not nice to say. I think the reason I'm struggling is I've probably got an old needle here that's blunt. You do need to use new needles every now and again. It always amazes me. It's a little bit like when I've been using my sewing machine and I come to change, just think, oh, do you know what, I'll change the needle. And then when you start sewing with it, it's like, oh my goodness, this is like a revelation. Because the needle suddenly is nice and sharp. Okay, right, so nearly there. So once we've got them all just tacked down, we're then going to start adding little buttons, and embellishments. So you can add onto the top of these absolutely anything you want to. If you are going to like the shop and getting stuff from the charity shops for fabric and things like that, keep things like the buttons on there. Any fastenings that are on there. Sometimes as well when you go to the charity shop, especially if they get to know that you're going, if they get any, like people like have got button boxes and stuff like that they're getting rid of, or threads and things, then they'll save them for you. So that's the back of my piece. So I've just gone from one to the next. And then I just need to tie this off. I'm going to get a different needle. This one is definitely blunt. So when I discard my needles, I don't throw them in the bin or anything like that. I have a tin that I just have as a sharps tin, and I just keep them all in there. It's not filled up yet, so I'm not worrying about getting rid of it, but I would never throw needles straight into the bin. Okay. Right then, so there we go. That's all our little fragments together so far. Just have a quick sip of my coffee. Okay, so I'm going to start having a look now. Little buttons. So the idea is that we're going to find some teeny tiny little buttons and just start stitching them on. Ooh, that's a nice one. And again, this is a great way to use up all your little bits and pieces. You could put little glass buttons on there. If you don't have buttons, you could just do a little decorative stitch. So you could do a little cross stitch, French knot, anything like that in the middle. I'm going for sort of pearly white. I've got a tiny linen button in there. I tend to look for buttons. We can find them on eBay, because sometimes if people have been clearing out people's houses, I know I have my mum's button tin, and I know a lot of people that I've spoken to get their mum's button tins, but obviously not everybody appreciates a good button tin. So on eBay or in thrift stores or recycle centres and things like that, you can sometimes come across button boxes. Oh, and it's like coming across treasure. It's amazing. Now, I'm doing one of those things where I knew I'd threaded a needle, and I don't know what I've done with the needle. So I was going to use a red. I thought I'd threaded a needle. Obviously not. So for my little pop of colour, just so there's a bit of a contrast, biggest tip and advice to do with needles is make sure that they are going to go through like that one there. It won't go through that one, so it will go through your little buttons. Looking for a decent needle. Don't know if that's any thicker. Oops. Thread that one. No, I don't like that one. That button's not a happy button. No, either's that one. Let's go for a bit of a thinner needle. So it is always worth doing this. It's a little bit like if I'm doing beading. If I haven't got a beading needle, I'm using like a milliner's needle or a straw needle, I will always check first that it'll go through, because there's nothing worse than threading up your needle with all the bits and then discovering that nothing will go through. Does make your life kind of hard. Right then, so we're just adding our little buttons now. I'm really liking this, it's quite cute. So think about buttons. They can go on straight, they can go on an angle, but the idea is the button is going in the middle. No, where's that need to come out there? That's it. So all I did there was I poked the needle through from the front so that I could sort of see where my needle needed to come out. So I'm just going to do a cross on this one. So I'm using that red thread. There we go. It's a thicker thread with a thicker needle, so it's been a bit of a pain in the bum, but that's fine. There we go. Number one. Yay, so cute. Next one. So I'm just going to just stitch them on just once. If it won't come through, one of the things I have got is a little bit of rubber. It just means you can hold onto your needle and just give it a bit of a pull. Now, just be careful that you keep that tension just right. There we go. To the next one. Go for a 4. So I did that one as a cross. So rather than have it, so I did that one on straight. So this one I'm going to do, I call it Katie Corner. Oh, I've got no idea why, but it's something from my childhood. Katie Corners in the 4 corners. Maybe somebody here knows Katie Corner. I don't know if it's a Yorkshire thing or what. Katie Corner 4 corners. I think that's what it was anyway. I don't know. Perhaps I'm just making that up. Maybe just talking a load of rubbish as usual. I'm always a bit sad when I say things like that and just think, oh, I can't ask my mum where that's come from. Why do we say that? So I'm just going to carry on all the way down. There we go. There we go. Okay, you don't need to sit and watch me do all my buttons. So I'll do as my usual thing where I put a photo at the end. So that's going to be tag number 3, fragments and buttons. I think that's really cute. And then what I'll do to attach it, I'll do like I normally do, where I just put glue at the top because I want these to feel that they can still move, and then do a couple of stitches up at the top. So there we go, week 3. We're off and running. We're on our way, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Happy stitching.